Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Standing Room Only podcast, episode number 78. For all the loyal fans out there, if you've tuned in 78 times, we owe you one. We definitely do. Make sure you guys are hitting that download button, whether if it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Make sure you're following our social media page as well, SR Only Pod. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. We are going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. They continue. Got some injuries, unbelievable performances. Unbelievable performances. That's all I got to say. MLB is cracking down on pitcher substances. We'll get into that. Of course, make sure you're following our social media. I am iGoose with 4 O's. I am on Twitter. I am on Instagram. I am on Twitch as well. We have Healy.
Follow me at the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram.
Before we get into it, Healy, I have a question for you. Of course, I see it on social media, Instagram, Snapchat. You're rocking the new Cubs hat, the Windy City, the Wrigleyville, I should say, Northsiders hat, the city hat. What was it like being in Wrigley with full capacity on a Saturday day game?
It was actually a night game.
Oh, it was a night game. It was a 6 o'clock game. That's right.
6 o'clock game because
Yes.
it was on Fox. It was against the Cardinals as well. Full capacity.
Yes.
It was great. It was fun to be downtown. It was also the first weekend in Chicago of full capacity. So I get down there early. I had to drive through a flood through the monsoon that was happening in the Chicagoland area. I thought my car was going to float away while I was driving downtown. Took me like over an hour, but as soon as I got down to Wrigley, the sun was out. The weather was good. A lot of thunderstorms beforehand. So I went with my buddy Antonio, who lives in Kentucky. First Cubs game in a long time. And he made the drive up to see a game. We knew it was going to be full capacity and decided to pay like $90 a ticket. I went to the team store after going to a couple bars beforehand. And in the team store, they had all the hats out. I wear a 7 5/8 hat. They had 7 7/8 or 7 3/4, and then they had 7 1/2. They had just the one size in between the hat I needed. They didn't have it.
Oh,
I was
man.
like, okay, whatever. I forgot to go take a look at the shirts. I really wanted one of the city shirts. They have like a light blue city shirt with the flag on the back. Completely forgot because I was just all looking at the hat. Got to
And you're
see the
talking about
jersey.
the shirt and not the jersey, right?
Yeah, a shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a light blue shirt. They had a couple shirts on sale because of it. The jerseys, though, in person in the store did not look as bad as I thought in the photos, because the light blue actually stands out more in person for like the names on the back and kind of like the outlines of the numbers. So after that, Antonio and I went to another bar, and while we're walking there, they have these street like vendors, I guess you'd call them, with shirts and whatnot. And I get there and they have all the hats on the counter, and they had one in my size. I gave him the cash. I was ready to go. I was kind of surprised. I didn't expect the guys on the street to get the merch too, but I guess they'll go to any business that way and give it to them.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's huge because I mean, as long as I've been going to Wrigley, there's always those street vendors. I'm doing air quotes because we don't know like the legitimacy of an actual business. A lot of times they only take cash too, but that's good that you ended up scoring it. I'm a huge fan of the hat. I believe that for the city jerseys, the Cubs hat trumps the Sox hat versus I feel the Sox jerseys trump the Cubs jerseys. But like I said, I was on your Snapchat. I was everywhere. I was like, man, you gotta love it. The city's back. The city's back. Barstool Sports, a lot of other social media platforms, ESPN. they're showing the beer snake in the bleachers. If there's one stadium you need to go to and you have a bucket list and you can only make it to a few, I'm a huge Sox fan. I can guarantee you what you'll get at the Sox Park, you'll get at a lot of other newer stadiums, in guaranteed rate. For Wrigley, it is a party day and night, especially in the bleachers, not including what happens before or after the game. Especially if you go to a 6 o'clock game and the bars are open pretty late, I'm sure now.
Mm-hmm.
It is a party. You got to add it to your list. That's me speaking as a Sox fan. I just understand if you are looking for an experience, a party, and you're a baseball fan, all in one right there.
Yes. And full capacity, as mentioned. The crowd was going wild. I got to see Jock Peterson hit a home run. Well, to start the game, Arenado hit a home run. And I was just telling Antonio, like, dude, I just hope it's not one of those days where Goldschmidt drops 2 home runs. Arenado drops 2 home runs. The Cubs score like 1 run and they lose. Especially with the Cardinals fans all there. There was a lot of Cardinals fans. But Arenado hit a home run, which was cool. It was okay. And then the Cubs, they hit 3 home runs of their own that game. Ian Happ, Jock Peterson, Sergio Alcantara all hit home runs. And they won like 7-2. Craig Kimbrell had to come in for a 1-out save. The bases were loaded, 2 outs, and they had to secure it. I got to meet Seth Elledge before the game. He's a pitcher for the Cardinals. I helped him get his 99 card in MLB The Show. So it's been cool getting all these guys their 99s. And then when they come to town, I hit them up and I'm like, yo, could I meet you in person? Sometimes I get tickets. Other times I don't. But tickets aren't that bad. I bought tickets today for Saturday's game, meeting Jazz Chisholm of the Marlins.
Ooh.
He's been all over the place. I talked to him last year. I have a video on my YouTube channel playing him on MLB The Show, and he's coming to town. I hit him up. So I'll be able to meet Jazz this weekend and see how Wrigley is going up against the Marlins. They need a bounce-back series, especially what we're seeing in the Mets right now. And then my last note, afterwards, full capacity, had to walk past through Wrigleyville again. You could tell who got there after the game or was just there for the night and who came from the game. Because you would either see Cubs shirts or whatnot, or you would see all the people who just go to Wrigleyville just to go to Wrigleyville in their nice going out clothes and dresses and whatnot.
Yeah, so you can always tell. That's the one thing. Yeah,
They were jam-packed. Lines out the doors of every bar.
Yep, I was gonna say that's the big thing about Wrigley is attire. It's not like you're going downtown. You're going to, I don't want to say dive bar. They're not dive bars, but they're dive-y, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't really care. You can wear jerseys, hats, whatever, but you do get the people who dress up and you can always tell, oh, you just came off a party bus or whatever. It's a huge party there in Wrigley. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time, but you'll definitely be able to catch me there. You'll probably see Healy before you see me, but that's only because of the big height difference.
Yeah, no doubt about that one.
So on that note, or is there something else?
Yeah,
that I'm missing?
I had to go off a little bit on Twitter today. So Lamelo Ball got Rookie of the Year. And I kept seeing people tweet about, oh, it should have been Anthony Edwards. Oh my God, it should have been Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards played better. LaMelo Ball missed a bunch of games. Should have been Anthony Edwards. So someone replied to my tweet, and I talked to them. I quote tweeted it with statistic comparisons. Anthony Edwards had more games played. He had more points per game. But LaMelo Ball had over a rebound per game. He had over 3 assists per game more. Half a steal more. He shot 2% better from the field. Shot over 1.5% true shooting percentage. He had a player efficiency rating 3.5 better than Anthony Edwards. He had 2 more win shares compared to Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards was used 0.9% more than LaMelo Ball in the offense. And that then the guy rebutted. He was like, well, if Joel Embiid only played the same amount of games as LaMelo, he should have won MVP. And I was like, no. I looked up Jokic versus Embiid. Pretty similar. And Jokic had more games played because he played everyone. Embiid sat out. Embiid had the points per game. But Jokic beat him out in rebounds. Jokic had 5.5 more assists, 0.3 steals per game. Joel Embiid had him in the blocks department. That's fine. But Jokic had him in shooting, true shooting, player efficiency rating, which was massive for both guys. Jokic put up a top 10 season all time in player efficiency rating. And then win shares, 15.6 to 8.8. And then Joel Embiid is used almost 6% more in their offense. And then the guy came back. It was like, well, most valuable players like actual value, and Joel Embiid gave his team more, like helped him out more. I'm done responding, but had to go on a little rant on Twitter today, just comparing the statistics of like why these guys got the awards they did.
If you take Philadelphia and you take Denver, I almost want to say Utah, and you take Joel Embiid off Denver, Embiid off of Philly has a way better team. They still have Ben Simmons. They still have Tobias Harris. One of the best in the East, one of the best supporting cast you can get out of a team. We're seeing teams lose one guy and they can't ball. Denver cannot do it without Jokic the same way Philadelphia can do it without Embiid. Not saying that they would go far, but most valuable player and player efficiency rating's huge. But going back to the LaMelo Ball, I mean, let's face it. He was limited and restricted in the first few games of the season also. When he was put into that role, Anthony Edwards basically took the role of D'Angelo Russell and put up D'Angelo Russell numbers. Translation. It doesn't
LaMelo
translate to
31
wins.
games.
Yeah.
Out of 51.
He didn't start in the beginning, and there were some games he didn't, down the stretch. And of course, he got hurt with his wrist. But so when you look at, for me, my biggest thing is, how does a player step in? Stats are obviously a key part of the game for awards. But one stat is who filled out and helped the team better. LaMelo came in the point guard role as a true point guard, and they won games. They won quite a few more than probably expected. I still think they should have been a playoff team, but again, LaMelo was hurt. Anthony Edwards, on the other hand, had good games. He had, I think, a couple 40-point games. But what was he more than just a scorer? He had to go shoot so much. He was, like you said, his usage percentage was higher.
His defensive rating, win share wise. So like coming from me, big baseball fan, I like the WAR statistic for like careers and like maybe for certain awards sometimes if it helps prove one or the other. It's not an end all be all. But for win shares, as mentioned, LaMelo had 2 more than Anthony Edwards. When I was taking a look at Edwards, he had a positive win share record or defensive win share. But offensively, he was in the negatives. So like he was putting up numbers, but how efficient was that actually helping their team? The Timberwolves were a bad team. So that will create a lot of empty buckets. And if there's a huge difference in score, it could just provide him easy points and like late round buckets, like quarter buckets.
I see both arguments. I do. I definitely see both arguments. And I mean, now that we're talking about it, we'll stick on the NBA segment. I do like Anthony Edwards. I think the dude is a dog, and I think his ceiling is unlimited, literally unlimited. And the same goes for LaMelo. LaMelo can transition into a very scary offensive player. Obviously, he's the best 3-point shooter out of his family of the balls. His court vision is nuts. He's only, how old is he? 18, 19? His court
20.
vision and his court vision is unreal. He's getting to play with some veteran players. Terry Rozier, who's been in the league a little bit, Gordon Hayward, who's been in the league a little bit. He's got a good supporting cast. He's playing under Michael Jordan. I like the umbrella that he's under, and I felt like he helped. He had a better season when he's on the court. Anthony Edwards, same thing though. I think once they figure out that it's time to stop tanking and maybe go out and get somebody to help, then he would be able to help his team compete. But I guess flip a coin for Rookie of the Year, but my pick would be Lamelo Ball, and that's a tough one. That's like a 51-49%.
And people will talk about the games played. Yeah, I guess it's a difference between like an MVP guy where, let's say, Jokic and Embiid were flipped in games played. Yeah, I think Embiid would get the award due to him playing more games. Like Rookie of the Year, there's only so many options, and like it's literally who played the best out of all those guys.
There's got to be a minimum.
Last year we saw it with Zion. If there was a full season last year and Zion played around 40, 50 games, he possibly had a chance to do it. But we saw Ja Morant. Ja Morant win Rookie of the Year then. So Rookie of the Year, like games played, I get it. But like LaMelo, and even if it was closer, like in the advanced analytics, LaMelo had him beat quite a bit. So it was even closer, then yeah, it could have flipped. But either or, I wouldn't have been too mad with.
We want to know everybody's opinion on this. If you are listening, we're going to put a poll out. We're going to put a poll out for at least 24 hours. The award's out. We're going to put a poll out. Pick your Rookie of the Year. Who do you think deserved Rookie of the Year? It's going to be poll number 1. We might have some more as awards come out, but this is a big one. This one definitely generated a lot of heat in social media, as it should, because when I saw it, I was like, ooh, because it could have went either way. And with both names, both guys are stars already. They're stars in their first year. Like, hands down, they are the future. Do awards matter for these guys, do you think? Rookie of the Year, maybe not so much. There's been a lot of Rookie of the Year snubs in the past. I felt Ben Gordon could have had it the same year Emeka Okafor won. There is other ones along the way. Either way, I'm curious to know what everybody else thinks. I have a feeling social media and the world kind of felt like Anthony Edwards was a snub. And we'll see. I'm curious to know. You guys can comment on that as well. But yeah, that's and we're gonna get more awards coming out soon. There's definitely gonna be some. I believe there's gonna be a couple others. The MVP's done. Rookie of the Year. They already did 6-man. No, are we done with awards?
Yeah, I for some reason Rookie of the Year came after MVP.
Yeah, that's like, so weird to me.
Did they forget about it?
I was like thinking there has to be more because it's Rookie of the Year. Why would that be the finale? So yeah, I think that's it. So let us know what you guys think on that one. Man, that's really odd that the NBA did that. I wonder if they dropped the ball. Besides that,
well,
NBA
they did drop the ball. It was LaMelo.
We're gonna add some drums to that for the before we release this episode. NBA. No. The playoffs continue. We have some
good news and we have some bad news.
Horrible news. Bad is like, I don't even, we're cut, like, it's bad. It's the worst of the worst, potentially. So should we start with the good news? You want to start with the good news? I'll give the bad news. You want to be good cop, bad cop here?
Yeah, let's start off with the good news.
Let's start with the good.
So, the good news, Kevin Durant in Brooklyn won yesterday after looking kind of terrible the past couple of games due to the injuries.
Yeah. They're down. I guess this is going to go along with the bad news. We got some bad news to pair up with the good news. Obviously, Kyrie Irving is out. Maybe out the rest of the series. Don't know. Ankle injury, I believe. High ankle sprain. Something like that. Which is a bummer because we're seeing old Kyrie. We're seeing Kyrie from Cleveland with their championship run. He goes down. They lose 2 in a row to Milwaukee. Guess who steps up and proves why he's literally the best scorer almost in the history of the game. He's 34 years old now. I could be wrong. 33, 34. Hands in his face, got smacked around quite a bit. The Slim Reaper,
He's
easy,
32.
easy, 32. Easy money sniper, Kevin
Yeah.
Durant, Durantula, goes off. Goes off. They were down like 20 points in game 5. They were down like 20 points in the first quarter. Nobody's hitting anything.
Past few games, the Nets have spotted the Bucks like 20 points or so. They won easily in games 1 and 2, and then these past few games they're like, "You know what? Let's just spot you some points so we can keep it close towards the end."
It's been a very interesting series to say the least. As soon as, and another factor in that game, Harden became questionable, probable to play. Kyrie's out. Harden, we need you to step up. All right, put me in, coach. Well, I'm going to throw that on my parlay before they update the money line. So I did. I still lost my parlay, guys. My parlays have not been very good. It was like a 9-leg parlay. I'm trying to shoot for the moon. Not happening. Not happening. Won that game, though. Harden returns. You look at his stat line, you're probably thinking he didn't do anything. But when you watch the game, the dynamic of Milwaukee, what James Harden does by being on the court, and there's not a stat for this. I always say there's always something a player does that there's not a stat for. Call it the plus minus. I guess that's the closest you can rate a player when it comes to not scoring points, because he didn't, but he made the right plays. He made the right passes. I think he had like 8 or 9 assists in the game. He had a few boards. Like I said, didn't score much. Had a couple free throws down the stretch. But he opened the game up for Durant, and Uncle Jeff Green went off. I think he had like 27 points. He had a career high.
Yeah, and he
He
went
was
7 of 8 from 3.
on fire from downtown. Now, if you have Durant scoring what he does and Jeff Green doing what he does, James Harden eventually needs to just catch a rhythm, even though he's hurt. Just let him catch a rhythm. This is going to be a tough team to beat without Kyrie. Even without Kyrie, I should say. My question is, and this is nothing against PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker, he's been getting into it with Milwaukee, with Blake Griffin. They're always exchanging words. PJ Tucker standing his ground, playing the tough guy, trying to. Why is PJ Tucker the primary on Kevin Durant when there's a huge height difference? Shouldn't Giannis be guarding Kevin Durant? Considering they're practically the same height, Durant's about 7 feet. He won't admit it. Giannis is about 7 feet, and he would admit it.
Yeah, I don't get that. I was listening to there's actually a press conference last night. I was listening to the game on the radio because I was coming home from softball. It was the Bucks radio too. It was hilarious. Side note that the Bucks radio were just crying the whole game when James Harden would go for free throws because they were so mad he was flopping and stuff. They were calling it flopping, whatever. Anyways, in the press conference, someone asked that. They're like, "So PJ Tucker on Kevin Durant, like Giannis, he hasn't been on the cover for it, like on him to guard him. Like, is he gonna do that in the future?" And Budholzer, or whatever his name is, I just know he's Bud. He basically was like, "Yeah, PJ, he's done a good job on him during the season and during the playoffs for the most part. We'll assess the game plan in like the future." So he didn't give a definitive answer, but maybe he's considering it. I thought the same thing. Defensive player of the year, a guy who is a freak athlete as well, should be able to limit Durant a little bit and not have him create as much space. I did see a tweet today as well where they kind of compared Giannis instead of like a cornerback where you're on the wide receiver. He's kind of like a safety where he just adjusts to the play. That's what also Coach Bud was talking about last night, where he was kind of saying he plays better where he's able to react to stuff happening on the court and being
Branch
there
off
if
from,
needed.
yeah. I get that. I mean, that's a very, very good point. He will be around any play that ends up in the paint. But the problem is Durant is going to shoot over PJ Tucker and hit at least 40%, which he hit way more every single time. PJ Tucker can be as physical he wants. There's a picture of Durant shooting and hitting a three while getting smacked in the face. I don't even think he got called for an and one. He got smacked in his face. My thing is Durant isn't as he's still quick. He can beat you a lot of guys off the dribble. He proved it even with his injury. I still think he's not 100% what like an old like prime Durant as far as physicality, speed, elusiveness. Why? I mean, what would be the damage in allowing the rest of your defense, aka Drew Holiday, to continue to guard Harden or to continue to guard whoever, because he's a great defender, and stick Giannis one-on-one with Durant? He's not going to give up the paint. He's got to be able to put a hand above and in Durant's face better than what PJ Tucker could do. PJ Tucker's older, slower, stockier, shorter. What? I mean, it's all negatives. So what? You're just going to let Giannis just try to defend at the paint? There was a block that Giannis had. I think he blocked maybe Jeff Green. I could be wrong. Somebody was trying to yam it down, and he had his hand on the ball. I thought he was going to palm it with one hand out of the air. It was the cleanest block I've seen. Well, couldn't tell at first if it was him or Brook Lopez. So I get the idea of let him play safety, because if anybody drives, they're probably not going to score because he's branching off. He's fast enough to get there. He's got probably the longest reach in the league. But when it comes to easy money sniper, shutting it down from downtown and mid range, what good is that? Like, how do you defend? You avoid the safety. You take him out of the play. Giannis had a hell of a game. Giannis is proving that he is still physically the best player in the game. But when it comes down to scoring and actually winning, Durant is that guy. And he has that edge over him. You know, basketball IQ's there. So very fun series though.
I think that also if they have Giannis on Durant, to even just cover him for like a majority of minutes, you could have PJ Tucker not on your court. He's an offensive liability. And when you have him, Giannis on the court, and basically like you'd have Middleton, Holiday, Lopez, who could somewhat shoot. They're efficient in their own right. Like you would not be that terrible on offense. We saw late in the game last night, their offense just went cold, and it was not great at all. So PJ Tucker being off the court, Giannis on Durant, maybe you get another offensive weapon off the bench. We'll see if they make the game plan change there. And then also, what I was going to say is, like, in the playoffs, Giannis still puts up like 30 points. But man, he needs to develop more like a game. He just runs at the basket. I saw a funny Twitter clip that someone posted where he basically ran at someone and then he like took a couple steps back and then he ran at them again and he couldn't get by them. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are your moves on offense? He has no like mid-range. He has no outside game. It's only get the ball and just beat guys to the basket, it seems like.
Yeah, I think if he can develop, well, for one, if he can raise his free throw percentage and not waste 10 seconds at the line, I'm taking a shot at him. If he can raise his free throw percentage, that's going to be a huge factor, because this whole hack-a-Shaq, hack-a-Giannis is starting to become a real thing. He's got to do that. And I think he's okay for his size, how he shoots threes. It could be better. There was a play in like the second quarter, third quarter. They're allowing him to shoot. They are literally allowing him to shoot. They're stepping to the elbow. They're like, you got to drive or you're going to shoot this three and miss. He hit it. Now it doesn't happen enough. So if he was a 30% 3-point shooter, 35%, it'd be a different ball game.
He is. He
Because
is a
now,
30%.
so he's 30%. So he does shoot. He's not bad then. I would say for his size, 30% is acceptable.
Yeah, 30%. Like this year, last year, he shot 30%. I was listening last night, and they had a quick possession where he got the ball and he threw up a 3 with like 5 seconds into the shot clock, I heard.
Oh yeah, he
This
shouldn't be
year,
doing that.
he is in the playoffs. He is shooting 17% from 3.
Yeah.
And he's
So
shooting
okay,
almost 5 a game.
so that makes it so if he shot what his regular season stats, if that carried over, it'd be a different series. 30% from 17%, that's a huge jump, especially if he's shooting 5 times a game. If he's shooting 5 times a game, that's a lot. So that's 20. Yeah, I'm not even gonna do the math right now, but that makes a huge difference. But that's another reason why they do keep PJ Tucker in the game. For one, they are injured. DiVincenzo would be eating up quite a few minutes right now. They'd be able to shift him to the 2, Middleton to the 3, Giannis to the 4, Lopez to the 5. PJ Tucker comes in. PJ Tucker is good with those corner threes occasionally, but this isn't the same PJ Tucker that we've seen in the past with Phoenix or other teams. He's not good. Like, it's just that simple. He's not good. And this part of the reason why I think Milwaukee just isn't it. I don't think Milwaukee has I love their big 3, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis. But let's face it, when Chris Middleton goes from hot to not in a matter of quarters, they're not going to win. Chris Middleton easily should be, like I said before, he's the X factor. Sure, he put up 20-something points, but he also shot like 9 of 20 or 9 of 22, something bad. When in the first half, he was lights out. Drew Holiday was lights out. I saw Drew Holiday miss a 3, or he tried to force a 3 or a mid-range shot, and it literally hit the front of the rim. And in my head, I'm like, why are they so dry on offense? Like, it's just that it just looks so dry. And maybe it is because they're so used to Giannis being this brute force with a supercharger built in his engine that maybe he sets up. Because I don't know. I don't know. The Milwaukee is the most confusing team to me because they easily could be one of the best teams in the league. But when you watch them play, sometimes you're like, holy crap, how are they a top seeded team?
And game 6 tomorrow night, technically the day that you are listening to this. Give me a crazy one. James Harden, will he score? Like, how much is he going to play? Also, I wanted to ask, do you think I wanted to just put this out there. I think that James Harden was probably just going to sit out the rest of the series if Kyrie never got hurt. Also, if they maybe the whole series until it got to 3-2 and they needed a comeback, maybe he would play. But I think the Nets, with Kyrie officially being out, had to pull Harden out and force him to play. We'll see if he scores tomorrow.
I mean, to be fair, so again, it's one of those, he was on the court, not necessarily to be a decoy, but it's just his basketball IQ. He's done it for so long. He's played in big games. He is a potential scoring threat, even hurt. Obviously, he didn't do so well in his first game back, but hey, it's his first game back, and if you're Milwaukee, you're not going to take him light. Durant had a triple-double. He played all 48 minutes, which is incredible. It's incredible. Played all 48 minutes, had almost a career high in playoff points. He was one off, missed a free throw at the end of the game. Triple-double. He literally managed the game. He held the ball most of the time. Harden had a few assists. I agree with you. Harden does not return if Kyrie doesn't get hurt. It's as simple as that. Because what are they going to do? Have Shamet play more? Who else steps up? They really don't have anybody else.
No, their offense, when it was only Durant, was garbage. Also, how does a guard only have the ability to shoot floaters? Bruce Brown, how do you only know how to shoot floaters?
I think Grant Hill and Marv Albert, I believe, were announcing the game. And Grant Hill pointed out that they liked what Bruce Brown was doing on offense with he'd drive and hand the ball off, almost like a screen, like a handoff. But I must have been watching a different game because the dude looked like he did not know what he was. There was like a forced shot late in the game. He had a floater that just was way off. He's dribbling almost too much. It almost looks like he's nervous, like late in the game. And I've talked big on Bruce Brown because in the regular season, which the regular season is a different dynamic, he had some good games. The dude was shooting pretty well. He's efficient. In the playoffs, and when all you do is a floater, when you're shooting at the end of not this past game, the game before, a
Game
floater.
three. Game three.
It was game 3, yeah.
It pretty much like cost him the chance to tie up the game. I believe it was a 2-point game.
I'm glad that they have him running these plays to where he's handing the ball off to Durant or whoever's coming around at that point. Blake Griffin. I mean, Blake can shoot the 3 sometimes. I mean, I guess take the compliment. I guess it was a good compliment, but I was watching. I'm just like, his offense, like he almost doesn't know what he's doing out there. He almost doesn't know what he's doing. There's another play right around that same time where he drove in and he dribbled back out. Like the drive didn't work. The floater wasn't open because they had the paint locked down. He drove back out. He's doing too much dribbling. Bruce Brown. He's the guy who is kind of talented that just isn't showing it yet. It's another guy where you need someone else to step up. I mean, sure, Durant can probably put up another 45 points because that's just who Durant is. But if Harden's not doing it, you think Jeff Green's going to put up another 30 points?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
And they're going back to Milwaukee, too. That's tough. The Nets have not won in Milwaukee yet this season, which only 3 times I played there.
Milwaukee, yeah, they're a good home team. We'll see what ends up happening. I think personally, I think Brooklyn takes game 6. They seal the deal just simply because Giannis has not technically been stopped. And this is what we talked about. You can let Giannis score all you want. If you can get the other guys to go into a shooting funk, they're going to lose. Durant's not going to have bad game after bad game. I think there was one game where he got shut down by PJ Tucker. It's like game 3, maybe 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen. He came back with 49 points. Brooklyn's too OP. They're too overpowered. I would like a game 7. As a basketball fan, I would like a game 7 in Brooklyn. I want it to go down to the wire. Give me something as close to the All-Star game a couple years ago. Down to the wire. Guys battling it out. We'll see.
You know the one player that I think if he goes off this game, Brooklyn will win? Joe Harris.
Joe Harris is
Please hit some shots. He's shooting 33% from 3 this series. And just as a side note, 5 of 9 in game 1, 3 of 7 game 2, 1 of 7 game 3, 2 of 6 game 4, and then 1 of 7 in game 5. What are you doing? He was 2 of 11 too, and then in game 3 he was 1 of 11 shooting just in general. He needs to play better, and I think if he actually shoots the percentage that he's supposed to, like a 40-ish%, the Nets should be fine. I don't know what's into him.
Yeah. I mean, he's like how Kyle Korver is, or JJ Redick is for some of these teams. Like, he's just a jump shooter, and I'm pretty sure he was the number 1 3-point shooter percentage-wise based on a certain number of attempts this year. So he's got to get it going too, and it's going to come down to the team. I think James Harden, if he continues to be on the court, is going to open the game for others, like it did for Jeff Green and Kevin Durant. Joe Harris is definitely a guy who they can benefit from hitting an extra 3 a game at this point. 1 extra, 2 extra. Like I said, you can't just count on Durant to score 50 points or 45 points and just think it's an automatic W, because it's not.
But yeah, as we stated, game 6 tomorrow. We have the Suns who swept the Nuggets. The Suns are looking very good in the playoffs. The Nuggets, they did get swept, but they did show how much they were missing Jamal Murray on the court and just
Oh
how good
yeah.
of a team the Suns are in general, especially with Chris Paul being there.
Yeah, the Suns, I mean, at this point, there's no secret. It's no secret. Yeah, they beat the Lakers. The Lakers were hurt. Okay, we'll give them that. But they still played extremely well. With Chris Paul, who was also hurt, now he's starting to feel better, obviously. They get the sweep on the MVP and his cast, which, whoa, his brothers are look scary. I don't know if you saw the video, the hard foul. Jokic had a hard foul on Devin Booker, turned into what was almost a fight. His brothers were ready to storm the court. I don't know who's going to be able to stop them. But yeah, besides that mishap, I mean, Phoenix is the team right now. To me, they're the team to beat, especially with some other bad news in the West. Which we'll see what ends up happening with the series with the Clippers. In their series, because now it's just Paul George. It's literally just Paul George in LA for the Clippers, which he's had some really bad games and he's had some really good games. In their series, it is 2-2 against Utah. Normally, I actually had the Clippers winning the series. I think the Clippers with Kawhi is a way better team. Kawhi goes down with an apparent knee injury, possible ACL injury. They are fearing it's an ACL injury. When they say that, it's a sugar coat for he probably tore his ACL and is done for not just this year because it's the end of the season. He might miss all of next year.
Yeah,
It's highly likely.
they just want to wait for the confirmation at this moment.
So they don't want to jump the gun. We'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully it's not. Kawhi is one of the best in the league, hands down. We all saw the poster he put on, I believe Royce O'Neal, Joel Embiid was watching it during an interview and went, holy shit, because that was nuts. I watched it. It almost looked like it was something out of 2K. So prayers out to Kawhi. We don't want him to get hurt. He's one of those guys. He's a good guy. Don't want that to happen. But with him being hurt, chances are Utah may end up taking the series. And with that being said, we're going back to the Suns here. I like the Suns' chances in with this route to the finals.
Speaking of the Suns, though, they need to hope that the Clippers and Utah make it a 7-game series at the moment because Chris Paul tested positive for COVID.
Yep. And
So
he
I
is
don't
now
know.
in protocol.
Yeah, I don't know how long protocol is. It might be 10 days or so, in which game 5's tonight. You got to hope it gets extended 2 more games to give them at least a 5-day cushion, and then maybe a couple days in between that and the series, and hope that Chris Paul only misses a game. I don't know what the protocols are at the moment, especially with the vaccine and whatnot. Not educated on that front, but there is concern that he will miss at least a game due to catching COVID positive for it.
Yeah, that's it's a huge bummer that he's gonna have to miss games due to that. Was it it was a positive test that he had?
Yep.
So
Positive test.
hopefully, first and foremost, take it from somebody who had it. Let's hope that he doesn't get sick from it, asymptomatic, if you will.
He had the
Um,
vaccine anyways, so like it shouldn't be too bad for him.
Oh, then he should be fine. I assume it's probably 10 days. I think I mean, I don't really know too much about it. It could be different with the NBA. They have their own rules. I think as long as he doesn't have the fever, then he should be good for 10 days. But like you said, if the series does not go 7 games, he is at risk of missing 1 to 2 games potentially. And that's going to be huge because the Suns without Chris Paul, not saying that they're not a good team, but without Chris Paul on the court, they're going to have Cameron Payne starting, I assume, unless they work
Mm-hmm.
their lineup some other way and have Dev Booker playing point. I don't think that it's going to be just a cakewalk like it should be. Like they actually probably will be the underdog in any game that Chris Paul's not in. So
Yeah, their
hopefully,
series is either going to start on Sunday or next Tuesday.
and he tested positive yesterday. So yeah, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough because that series, as soon as the series is done, it's probably 2 days, and then that next series starts. So
Yep. Man, you cannot. Especially, like, let's say he's out for 2 games. They go down 2-0. They're going to have to work their way back over something like that. So, I don't know what I'm trying to look up what the protocol stuff is. All I'm getting is Chris Paul articles. No one's being specific in them. Let's just hope for the best and that maybe he comes back sooner than we think and that he doesn't miss more than a game.
He's the face of the league next to LeBron. I think he's the president of the NBA's Player Association.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure the NBA would make something happen. Oh, actually, he's good after 7 days. What do you know? But yeah, there's no official report as to how long he's gonna have to miss. It could be a shorter period with the vaccination. I don't know. I assume all players are vaccinated at this point, so it's with fans in the stadium. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna say, but um, let's hope that it's a fair series. Let's put it that way. It might be a fair series if he misses a game, technically, because I think the Suns they're good. They are good. They are it right now.
Mm-hmm. The final series that we have not talked about is Philadelphia and Atlanta. Philadelphia, or it's 2-2. Atlanta stole a game in Atlanta. Trae Young went off. I think they're undefeated in the MLK jerseys, which is kind of like funny that they wear them and they just don't lose. But they're getting whooped tonight by 20 points. Joel Embiid is going off. It was kind of concerning in the last game how inefficient Ben Simmons was on offense. Joel Embiid tonight, 29 points. He's 10 of 12. But Ben Simmons was nowhere to be seen late in the games. And there's even like people talking about after the games, like, should he even be on the court offensively in that time?
Well, it's tough because he is a presence on the court. Joel Embiid, I don't think scored. He didn't score the whole second half of the last game,
But yeah, he
which
went
is
like 0 of
huge.
12.
0 for 12, which is huge. But this is like that. This is why I'm so high on Atlanta. I've talked about it before, previous seasons. They have a good team. They have a good team that just they don't click. Like something's not clicking. Like John Collins should be playing better than what he has been. Clint Capella grabs all these rebounds. I'm not sold on guys who can get triple doubles every game that are constantly cherry picking rebounds. The team's allowing him. Like Clint Capella does fight for his rebounds. He's a bruiser, but his offense should be a little bit better. But they did lock up Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, who almost had the triple double. He offensively just isn't it. It's weird because he's a guy who I think put up 43 points in a game this season when Embiid went down. So you're like, whoa, Ben Simmons has that
Against the
inside game.
Jazz.
Yeah, it was a big game. But when you guys are going up when Joel Embiid doesn't score, I mean, he is their MVP. He is the runner up. Joel Embiid doesn't score. Tobias Harris had a good game. Tobias Harris had 20 points. I don't know what his shooting stat line was. The bench didn't do anything. Ben Simmons only had 11 points. Seth Curry had 17, which is okay for him. But then you're going up against Trae Young, who had 25. You had Bogdanovich, who had 22. John Collins had a double-double, stepped it up. Clint Capella had a double-double. Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter, to me, is like the Joe Harris of Brooklyn. That kid is good. And he's young, and he's talented. He can shoot the ball. He can shoot off the dribble. He can, I mean, he's not a physical player. He can't really necessarily drive on anybody. He's not a big guy. But I feel like if he can put up 10, 12, 14 points and hit a couple, keep his 3-point percentage high, that can rally the other guys like Gallinari, John Collins, who I don't know why he doesn't average 20 and 10 every game. Guys like that. I like Atlanta. But in this series, and it's proven right now as they're playing, Philadelphia is up 20 points currently in the third quarter, 72-52. Complete different game that we're getting from Joel Embiid. He's got 29 and 11 already. Ben Simmons only has 6 points. I'm okay with Ben Simmons not scoring a lot. I'm okay
No.
with that. You cannot expect him to take over. He's more of a defensive. he's like a defensive presence meets offensive. He's an offensive. I don't want to say
Taller
genius.
Rajon Rondo.
Let's exactly. So, and I mean Atlanta, John Collins having a good game. He's 16-6. Trae Young's having a good game. He's got 21. Clint Capella, Kevin Huerter, and Bogdanovich are combined for 6 points. And that's it. That's you guys. If all guys are not stepping up and playing their part, if Herter's not scoring at all, if Bogdanovich isn't putting up 20 points, which obviously he just did last game, if he's not hitting those open threes, if he's not creating shots, they won't win. They're not going to win a series against Philadelphia. Philadelphia is way too strong of a team with Embiid, Tobias, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry. Seth Curry in the last couple of seasons has been playing. He's been playing like he's Steph Curry's brother. For the longest time, I was like, man, is he in the league because he's a Curry? But now I'm like, yo, he's actually pretty damn good. He's fun to watch, that dude. He can drain him from downtown. He's definitely put in the time and efforts. So I'm expecting Philadelphia to win this game. They're probably gonna win the series. Obviously, it's still too early. It is 2-2. As you mentioned, they will be in Atlanta next game, which is going to be on Friday night. So,
Yeah, I don't think there's any more like 3-day rests. From here on out, it's every other day.
yep. So that's it for the playoffs. I know that the NBA is talking about they're going to get together with the Player Association and some other group about changing the rules for fouls, for jump shooters. As we see all the time, guys are able to leverage their way into a foul based on how they're launching for their jump shot. So they are going to talk about rule changes, which I believe is going to get passed. Some of these fouls that get called are a little ridiculous, and it's clearly that the shooter is launching into, which they already made changes. I'm confused on, they made changes years ago. You can't just lean in for the foul.
Yeah,
Just because you get the defender up in the air.
I think it's to prevent like Trae Young, how he beats you and all of a sudden he jumps like back into you.
He
Stuff like that.
stops
Or like
yeah.
James Harden, how he gets like the opponent's arm into you, or like how he purposely like just gets people leaning into them for fouls.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what they're trying to prevent and make it fair. Guys who are hunting for it because they know they can get the call, well, you got to make an adjustment for that. But besides that, that is it for the NBA. We are going to go over to a hot topic in Major League Baseball. They decided that they are cracking down, starting with, I believe, a 10-game suspension for pitchers who are caught using illegal substances. Healy, what is going on over there?
Any substance besides the rosin bag at the
The
moment.
rosin bag is always allowed. It's always allowed. A lot of players have shown a lot of concern. We've seen Tyler Glasnow get hurt, and he's blaming it on basically, I can't use anything because I fear I'm going to get suspended. They're literally drawing fear and trying to draw fear into players like they're doing something wrong, which maybe, I guess, I don't know. It's something that's been around so long.
Baseball is like Rob Manfred. I cannot wait for the day that he is gone. He just does not seem, he wants to grow the game. He wants to progress it. He's not. He just constantly does things that does not progress the game. And like Spider Tack should have been on there. Like they should have went after specific substances and just got him out of that. Guys have been doing sunscreen and rosin for years, for the longest time. MLB wants guys to go out there right now and use these brand new baseballs. If you've been to a baseball game or watch on TV, if I feel like they use a new baseball like once every 2 to 3 pitches, depending on if they get fouled. If they get hit at all, they're done. If they go in the dirt, they're done. So you're getting literally brand new baseballs every time that have not really been broken in. and they're slippery. And then the rosin is to prevent you from getting a good grip. So you're like, why don't they just use the rosin? That's because if your hand gets all sweaty and like it's to prevent the moisture from getting on your hand and whatnot, then you're going to be throwing a slippery baseball with a slippery hand trying to like get it in there. And it's also been proven that like some of this stuff like rosin and sunscreen or some of these minor things don't actually improve the spin rate or like help guys out in their break and stuff. It's because they were going to like the spider tack and getting all these like extensive stuff to like actually raise their spin rate. And this decision's kind of hurting some pitchers. As Goose said, Tyler Glasnow, he felt like he had to put more pressure on the baseball with his fingers so that the ball wouldn't really slip and like get away. And because of that, holding it with the pressure, it hurt his elbow and it got a tendon. If you give guys grip and that doesn't improve their spin rate at all, they're going to get more control and they can be loose with the baseball more so that they won't get injured. And also, we're probably going to see a bunch more hit by pitches as the year goes on, and like at an increasing pace because of this.
Yeah, they're forced to change. I mean, with that change, the control's going to change. This is something they show up in March and they're throwing 1,000 pitches every, before the season even starts. I think it's a little odd, and I think the biggest thing that Trevor Bauer touched on is they basically are the judge, the jury, and the executioner, the umpires, because now the umpire is going to come out and say, you're using an illegal substance. Are you? Are you not? Like, how can they decipher that? And I liked his analogy in his interview. He's like, well, what if we all had the ability to write a ticket for speeding? But we don't have, a radar gun. Like, what if cops don't have a radar gun? What if they're just like, you look like you're going 10 over. Somebody give you a ticket. This guy, he might be, but we'll let him go. Like, who's gonna get the pass and who's not? Like, how are they gonna coach the umpires to know? They're not gonna sit there with a Q-tip and put it in a jar and it's gonna turn green. It doesn't work like that. So I think that it's gonna, for one, potentially might slow the game down because these umpires are probably gonna be on the lookout for it. For two, innocent guys are going to be getting in trouble for obviously what the umpire thinks is a problem, or the league. And for three, which the guy may not actually be using anything, like, what are they going to have? Cameras in the dugout? What if the guy has to go use the restroom in the clubhouse and maybe he wants to spray it in his hands there and it comes back? Like, how are they going to test that? Are they going to smell their hand? Like, I just don't understand where the decision is coming from as the umpire to say, your hand, I don't like it. There's something illegal on there. So now it's like, we're pulling you out of the game and you're suspended 10 days. And I'm sure I'm right on this one. If you get suspended for that, you're probably not getting paid for that. You're probably missing a couple games. So now you're talking about their paychecks, is their livelihoods. It's just a lot of things, questions left unanswered. It's a lot of unanswered questions as to the operational standpoint of the game. What is right? What isn't? Who are you to tell me I have something on my hand when you can't even test it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a clip today as well. Pedro Martinez, one of the best pitchers ever pitch in baseball.
Yeah.
He was talking about as well, the baseballs are covered in mud. Like they briefly rub mud all around them. And like we already know, the baseballs are the seams are super short. When the mud dries, it's hard to get grip that way too. So he's like, yeah, I needed some other stuff to like rub on them to make sure I got the grip and whatnot, which is funny. Pedro Martinez never gets classified as a cheater. And I've already seen one tweet about quote tweeting someone today or yesterday. And the tweet was basically talking about like, oh, pitchers control once substances are gone. And it's just guys getting hit. It's like Little League or whatnot. I saw someone quote tweet it and say, well, maybe they should find a different position. I'm like, there we go. This is like the steroid era coming to fruition of what I talked about on the last podcast of how you're going to, this has happened for so long, but all of a sudden the focus is on now, and it's looked as like they're getting crucified.
Yeah. I mean, it was bound to happen. There's like I said, in sports, there's always those people out there, they read an article and they run with it. Troll accounts, trolls, whatever. Like the consensus is, and I mean, it's pretty clear with all these players expressing concern. Like, I mean, I don't know how many players now. It started with a couple. Now I'm seeing reports. I think Dylan Cease, somebody on the Sox said something. All these guys are starting to make comments about, like, dude, like, what are you doing? How can you govern this and make this rule? Like, it's not like steroids. And I think that's my biggest argument is, yeah, I can go, you can test me for PEDs. You can test me for PEDs and I can fail it. I can fail the test. Okay, I tested, I did this, I shot this, whatever. But for this thing, that's been around for so long and for used for so many different reasons, and there's science as to, oh, it's not, the spin rate isn't really changing. They're doing it to get better grip, to make their pitching more efficient, but it's not cheating. The guy still has to stand in the batter's box. And I don't, to anybody who is on board with this, you are a troll. You are a troll if the only thing you can say is the stupid, obvious remark, well, don't play that position. Well, it's not like that. I mean, this is stuff, I'm sure these guys have been using them since they were in high school. You know, it's just different things you grow up with.
I saw someone mention that they didn't need to use it in high school. In high school, you're using 3 baseballs with thick seams, and the ball gets worn down throughout the game, and they generally aren't good baseballs anyways, so you're getting ground outs, you're roughing up the ball as the game goes on, and you're throwing it, and you're getting better grip because the ball's getting worn down.
Yeah. So it's going to be a never-ending argument that shouldn't be, personally. I think that, and I'm going back to the interview, I know a lot of guys have different reasons, but I think Trevor Bauer kind of brought like a logical aspect to the conversation, to the table. He brought a very logical aspect that I connected with, and I was like, Trevor Bauer's kind of out there. He lets whatever's on his mind and social media, he lets it be known. He lets it be known. He's new age. I love him. But his logical breakdown of how is this fair, I think, is the realest thing I've heard and or read about this whole thing. And I think that the league needs to reconsider. They probably won't, unfortunately, because what they are doing is they're putting pitchers on a crucifix. And I hate to use this as an analogy. I probably shouldn't do that. But they are literally crucifying these guys at that position. And now it's like they did with the steroid era. They literally, like, I'm talking like no Hall of Fame potentially. Like, what if Garrett Cole, who probably should be a Hall of Famer, I would assume, in his future, what if in at the end of the season gets caught one time and he gets suspended for 10 games? Now, is he flagged for cheating? The one thing that I do want to say, a lot of guys are like, well, how can they do that? Suspend a guy, but they can't suspend the Astros. I get that, but you got to throw that argument in the trash. I personally agree that the Astros, yes, they cheated. This is a different type of cheating. This isn't cheating, but this is a different type. According to the baseball rules, it's different.
It's the same people who talk about why the steroid era guys, like if you think they should get in, why Pete Rose then shouldn't get in. It's just a different conversation.
It is a different conversation. Yeah, exactly. So, which Pete Rose should be in. That's personal opinion. But yeah, definitely it's a bearing. It's very frustrating. It's frustrating as a fan to see the community, the baseball players themselves, like, wait, this is for batter safety? Are you kidding me? Like, how is this for batter safety? Like, I think that was one of the excuses. This is for batter safety. And it's like, come on, shove that up where the sun don't shine. Because now, not only do you guys have these pitchers that are upset, how is this going to alter the game unless ultimately that's what they want? Maybe they want a different baseball game. It seems like they do. I don't know. Very frustrating, though. Very frustrating. It's been a fun season. The no hitters have been primarily against a few teams, 2 to 3 teams. I mean,
yeah, I said it was an overreaction on a previous podcast.
a
People were
while ago,
freaking out.
before this even blew up, you said that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This has been a fun episode, though.
Yeah. Just take Robert Manfred and just one punch. You can hire one person, just a one shot. But we'll see. I feel like every commissioner has to leave their stamp somewhere that says, I did this. And this is his. This is a big one. And it can always change. It can always change. It's something I think personally, this should have been during the next off season. They have a players association, I'm sure. Get the team owners, get a vote.
CBA is happening this off season.
Yeah, the collective bargaining agreement. Yes, you mentioned this in the last episode. Why not wait? Why would you do this in the middle of the season? In the middle of the season, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's a big change. I mean, you're talking about guys now. What if the dude just has sweaty palms and it looks like a substance? I don't know. It's just weird. It can't be governed. I feel bad for the umpires too. I do, because now they're expected to go out there and try to make these judgment calls, and I guarantee you, he's gonna have the pitcher in his face yelling at him. He's gonna have the pitching coach. He's gonna have the manager getting yelling at him. So it's just a bad position for all these guys. And Robert Manfred just gets to sit there just sipping my tea.
I think that's about it, though, for what we've had on our agenda for today.
That is gonna do it, guys. Very heated discussion there. Very heated. I want to know what you guys think. This is going to be another one. Make sure you tune in on our Twitter. We're going to have a poll out for the Rookie of the Year, NBA Rookie of the Year voting, I should say. We're going to talk about the pitcher substance crackdown. Make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys hit the download. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube for social media. You can watch us on YouTube, I should say. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you guys tune in next week.